All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of RD Buzz, where we cover everything restaurants, recreation, and real estate in the Raleigh-Durham area. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you are joining us tonight, make sure to put in the comments where you are joining from. It's just interesting to see, and it helps us build content as we move forward and put together things that are hopefully helpful to you all. So obviously, typically I'm joined here by my wife, Cindy, and she's not here tonight. So she is with our child downstairs. Well, all of our children downstairs who are all sick. So she's helping out the grandparents with them. She tried to hop onto here and it was a chaotic mess. So so she went downstairs to help calm them down. So anyway, it'll just be me tonight, but I do appreciate y'all tuning in. It feels like it's been a while since we've been on here, but we just missed last week, and so hopefully we'll be here for consistent weeks from here on out through the summer. But we do have some really interesting topics to cover tonight. Wake County rolled out their proposed budget for the county, which is really fascinating. And so I want to dig into what that looks like. What are some new things that they are funding? And also, I think maybe even more importantly, because it just kind of falls into our wheelhouse more, how the budget affects your property taxes. And so that's what we want to dig into. And then we're going to talk about some zip codes where there's some high appreciation occurring in the triangle, and then we'll wrap it up with some other things. But this probably will be a shorter episode than normal, so I can get downstairs and help Cindy out. But it looks like we got Next Level joining in from Raleigh. Welcome, Next Level. Thanks for tuning in. But we will we will get rolling with the Wake County budget that was rolled out. So I'll kind of preface some of this. We'll start with the property tax aspect of this. So if you've been watching these videos for a while, or you just live in Wake County, which is, so those of you who aren't familiar with what Wake County is essentially where Raleigh's located, Wake Forest, Cary, Apex, Holly Springs. So some of the most popular areas for folks to live in our region is within the Wake County area. And Wake County just did a property reassessment, which is how property taxes are done here. The county does an assessment every 4 years, and they did the assessment this year, and property values soared roughly on average by about 50%, which was the largest increase that we've ever had in our area. So obviously that increases to a degree the tax pool in the area. So one interesting thing about North Carolina, I'm not sure how other states function, but in North Carolina, your property taxes have to be revenue neutral, which essentially means the county can't just tax you and make all this revenue off of you. It has to match what the budget is. So the property tax now is right around 0.65, I believe, off the top of my head. I should probably know the number by heart. But after they did the property reassessment, the projected rate was going to be, I think it was, I jotted it down here, it was 0.4, what is it? 0.4643% was the proposed amount. So that was going to bring the budget down to a revenue neutral area. So obviously the tax rate was going to fall. That matches some of the increased property values in the area. So the budget, and the reason this is important is because the budget that was just put forth by Wake County is going to pull that property tax up a little bit, because that budget is larger than previous budgets have been in the past. So right now it's looking like, if this, and granted, this is a proposed budget, this has not passed anything. This is just what's proposed. But if this were to pass, the property tax in Wake County would be 0.5105. So that's still lower than what it is today, but it's a little bit higher than what it would be if you go, and you can go into Wake County's website right now, plug in your property, and get an estimated tax amount with the new tax bracket. But obviously, this is slightly higher than what they had originally in that system. But the budget is also larger, and so this is accounting for a larger budget within Wake County. So if you have ever played around with that calculator and you got a number, your taxes are most likely, if this budget goes through, going to be a little bit higher than what you've seen on that calculator. Now, I'm not sure. I mean, this would be something interesting to look at. I'm not sure how often budgets are proposed at the county level and look completely different once they're through the county government. I know obviously on a federal level, state level, when the executive branch, whether it's the president or the governor, proposes a budget, once it works through the legislative body, it typically looks vastly different than what it started with. I'm sure on the county level, it's probably a little easier to get some of this through just because it's a lower level of government, but this will still obviously have an impact on your taxes. They're going to be a little bit higher than what was originally discussed. So that begs the question: well, then what is Wake County proposing, right? So if you're going to be paying more in taxes, what are you going to be getting for those taxes? And that's where I think it's really fascinating. We're going to dig in to some of that right now. I'm going to pull up the budget here. And looks like we got Sarah joining from Mebane. Welcome, Sarah. And we got Stephen joining from Fayetteville. Welcome, Stephen. Yeah, as y'all come in, make sure to put in the comments where you're joining from. All right. My mouth dries out when Cindy's not here because I have to do all the talking. I can't rely on her to like pick up some of the slack. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. And all right, so this is documented. You can find this on Wake County's website. It's their proposed budget and just a slide deck or a presentation of what that is. So the proposed budget actually, it's a $2 billion budget. 51. This is really fascinating. 51% of that budget in Wake County will go towards education. And education means a lot of different things. That means Wake Tech Community College, and it also means Wake County school system as well. And so that's obviously a pretty substantial budget for education. But this is really cool. So Wake County. Now this may seem weird. It says our first new park in 14 years. So remember, this is Wake County. This is not the city of Raleigh. So obviously, Wake County is obviously not producing the amount of parks that you see within like the city of Raleigh or the city of Cary or the city of Apex or anything like that. So this would be the very first park in 14 years that Wake County has created, which I think is pretty cool. 300 acres of green space, a playground for kids. So yeah, I mean that's I'm a big proponent. I mean, I think it's just the age that our kids are at. I'm a big proponent of building parks. I think it just betters the community. And this is something that the Wake County area, whether you're looking at the city of Raleigh or the city of Cary or the city of Apex, or Wake County, period, has traditionally done really, really well. And it makes that area very enticing to live in, especially if you have a young family or I mean, if you just love the green space. I mean, 300 acres of green space is a wonderful addition to the county. So the budget would include this, and it would also include this park, which would be opening in the summer of 2025. So this one's quite a bit smaller. 59 acres. To say it's a small park is kind of is it's kind of crazy because I mean, obviously, 59 acres is a substantial amount of area. So 2.5 miles of trail, community garden, pond with a boat launch. I mean, this is a really like these are really good things. Like when you see a budget produced by a county, these are the types of things that you want to see, and these are the types of things that folks get excited about. At least these are things that I get excited about because I think it betters the community. So obviously you're adding the two different parks. Let me scroll down here to it's got a lot of stuff in here. I mean, this thing, when I say it's a ton of pages, it is hundreds and hundreds of pages. I'm gonna scroll down here to the schools. Let me see. Yeah, so 51% of the budget will go towards schools. So here we go. Obviously, the schools is really where um money is needed to go and needs to go in our area. Our area, especially Wake County. So in the Wake County area, those of you who live here, those of you who are exploring the area here, you've probably heard the term cap schools, right? It's in and it exists in all parts of the Wake County School. It primarily exists on that southwest corner of the triangle or of Wake County, talking about Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, that region. But you can also find it in other parts of Wake County as well. But we have the cap school system because of just how many folks are using those school buildings, and they get too full, and so they get capped. And those students who move into that school system end up getting sent to the overflow school districts. Um, so we need more money in Wake County to build more schools. And that is essentially what this is doing. So they're looking at $2.8 billion investment over 7 years, um, for the Wake County public school system. And that would be to renovate existing schools, but to also, I think, probably, maybe more importantly, build new schools as well. So, I mean, this is something that this area needs, um, and it needs it quickly. And so, I think the fact that obviously no one likes increased taxes, but to know that a good portion of your budget is going towards the public school system where it needs to go as far as building new schools and maintenance of those schools. I think is that's a really encouraging thing. So, yeah, I'd love to know y'all's thoughts in the chat. Let me know your thoughts about the budget. Again, this is a proposed budget. By the time this thing passes, it could look completely different. And if you're not familiar with the area, again, this is just Wake County. So this is not Durham County, where obviously Durham is. This is not Orange County, where Chapel Hill is. And I thought this was pertinent to talk about just from the aspect of property taxes are changing in Wake County. And this budget, whatever budget is approved, will directly affect what your property taxes are in Wake County, and what that rate is. Um, so yeah, I thought this was really fascinating. But I do think it's encouraging. It's encouraging to see money going to certain places like the school system to build new schools, where it really needs to go. So, all right, moving on to the next one. So this is the zip codes with the greatest home appreciation. So this is really fascinating. I'm going to share this screen here. You might not. Sometimes I share the screen. I don't know if y'all can like actually see it or not, or if it's too small. But the zip code that came in first was actually in Johnston County at 11%. Now this is, to be fair, this is from last March to essentially this March. So this is a year's worth of appreciation. And 11% is significant, especially with the market that we dealt with last year. The market last year was really, um, it was not favorable for appreciation like this. So to have this type of appreciation is pretty significant. So coming in first was a zip code in Johnston County. This is the next one was in southern Cary, which makes sense. So, Cary continues to be one of the most desirable areas for folks to move to. It continues to be a part of the triangle where, um, the competition to get into Cary tends to be very fierce. There's certain neighborhoods in Cary that are just, I mean, they're just tough. They're tough to get into. The competition is fierce. The amount of buyers looking in that area is significant based on what the inventory is. And so seeing Cary on this list is not surprising whatsoever. Um, and then it looks like the others, there's another one in Johnston County, and there's one located around North Hills in Raleigh. Again, not very surprising. So just the North Raleigh region in general tends to be a competitive area, but that North Hills region, for a lot of different reasons, is also very, very competitive. So for those of you who don't know, North Hills is a shopping center right above Interstate 440. So it's the inner loop in the triangle. Folks call it the Beltline. And North Hills is a mixed use development site. There, it's kind of basically like an outdoor mall. With high end stores and high end restaurants, and there's a lot of high end neighborhoods around that area that tend to produce a lot of price growth in that area as well. And then Apex is on the list as well. So none of this is really too surprising to me. I think I probably would have expected to maybe see Harnett County on here. Um, there's just so much going on that. So Harnett County's Fuquay, part of Fuquay, a lot of Fuquay is in Harnett County. Um, but in general, I mean, I think when you think of some of the hottest areas, North Raleigh, Apex, Cary would 100% come to mind. Johnston County is exploding, so it does not surprise me whatsoever that that's on here. Yeah, let me know y'all's thoughts. But I mean, this list was 100% pretty much exactly what I would expect. So, yeah, but I think and kind of scrolling down here a little bit more. Um, Chapel Hill, so Carborough was up 10%. Chapel Hill was 8%. Um, so right in line with kind of what you were seeing in the Apex area. So, but anyway, this is really good stuff. So especially again, March 2023 to March 2024 was not necessarily an ideal market for appreciation. Um, and so to see that level of appreciation, at least from a seller's perspective, is pretty good. Um, Obviously from a buyer's perspective, it's not as ideal, especially first time home buyers. But that kind of leads us to the next topic, which is regarding home prices. So Zillow, or excuse me, Redfin put out some housing market data and said buying a home costs more than ever, which is obviously something we've been saying for a long time. But home prices just hit an all time high. The median home price in the U.S. is 383. That happened in April 21st, which was the highest point it's ever hit, and that was I think I said hitting. It's ever hit. I need Cindy up here to keep me in line. And that's a 5% increase from the year prior. So obviously 383 is lower than what we experience here in this market, but that is the median home price in the US, and that's the highest it's ever gotten. And so the market continues to move in that direction where home prices are increasing despite interest rates being high. And this is something we've talked about before, where we're not seeing the impact of interest rates this year, putting cooling off the market or anything like that. The market here has been very, very hot. And we've seen enormous amounts of demand, even though interest rates have been high. And, over the last several weeks or so, they've crested 7. And we're still seeing a lot of demand in the market, even in spite of that. And so, home prices tend to increase or have been increasing even as even as interest rates have held steady at very high numbers, which has been really fascinating to see. And I think that's something that kind of took me off guard as far as kind of the demand that we've seen this year. I wasn't expecting, a really slow market, but I don't think I was expecting the demand that we've seen so far. But we are kind of starting to get to a point in the year where we traditionally start to see demand kind of wane a little bit, and so I think it's going to be fascinating over the next 60 days or so. As we enter June and July, where you know the market kind of slows down a little bit, and so or plateaus. It doesn't get slow, but we're definitely getting into a season where the market can look a little different than it did in a March or an April. Um, I mean, just looking at our business, traditionally June is kind of that pivot month where um, we're still doing a good amount of business in June with folks that we've been in touch with for a while. But when it comes to folks reaching out to start, searches or to list their homes, it kind of it really comes to a halt in June. At least for us. I mean, that's been something we've noticed year after year after year. I think a lot of that, is summer break. Folks start going on vacations. The house hunting kind of takes, goes to the back burner, and so the market kind of slows down a little bit. So it'll be fascinating to see, so far this year, and based on this report from Redfin, we've seen some really hot markets, but it'll be interesting to see in the next 60 days or so, what the market looks like as we traditionally start seeing it kind of slow down a little bit from the peak of the spring months, so to speak. But yeah, so that's neat, and we'll close it off on this one. I know I said this would be a short one tonight, so I cut out some of the stories we had. Um, all right, so Lennar, I read an article in the Triangle Business Journal. Lennar is looking to secure 240 acres off Old Milburnie Road, near Buffalo Road. So this is kind of like Northeast Raleigh, if you don't know where that is. But it caught my eye because I mean Lennar Lennar is building some massive communities in our area. That this would be potentially roughly 1,000 homes if everything went through, the rezoning went through, um, and they started the building process. But why is this significant? Why is it an article worth bringing up? It's just this area continues to build because it continues to grow. And I mean, I, eh, Lennar Lennar is building some massive communities here, and I think it's good. Yeah, I mean, folks have mixed feelings about new construction. Um, I think it's good though that some of this new construction is going into the Raleigh region. So much of our new construction ends up being in kind of the some of the towns that are a little further out, like the Fuquays and the Claytons. And so it's nice to see a large neighborhood going not in the heart of Raleigh. This isn't the heart of Raleigh, so to speak, but it's got good access, really good access to the heart of Raleigh. So I think having some new construction going into a side of town um, that has some good access to other places within Raleigh and doesn't feel so remote and doesn't feel so far out is a really that's a really good thing for our area. So um, yeah, well, that is all I have. I think this is going to be the shortest one that we've ever had. And it is to hurry up and get our sick kids in bed before they have another meltdown. But anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in tonight. We will see y'all here next week. And hope y'all have a good weekend. Bye, y'all.